it's in the newspaper quite often. But back in 2007, 2008, 2009, people just didn't hear that phrase, comfort women.
Thank you for coming tonight for our exhibition.
I've heard about the Holocaust, I've heard about Native Americans, I've heard about African American slavery, but I've never once heard about Korean comfort women.
Hopefully, really hope that this can happen, never repeat again. And as a Korean and as a woman, I do think it is important to address what comfort woman is, was, or will be.
I've met quite a few of them, the former comfort women who were forced sexual slaves from World War II. The first time I met them was in September of 2009. I flew out to the House of Sharing in Gwangju, South Korea, and spent a week with 9 of the women. And it was a wonderful week. At first, we just introduced ourselves. Of course, I spoke no Korean, they spoke no English. Hwa Sun Kim, who's since passed away, and she was great. She was the first person who posed for me. She asked me if I'd paint her, and she went and she put on some lipstick and put on her best blouse, and she sat for me, and that was the first live portrait that I did. Since then, after she passed away, Yeok Sun, who's the person I've become closest to, Yeok Sun asked me, can she have the portrait that I did that day, and I gave it to her. Eventually, as I'm doing this painting, the hair is going to be blue and it's going to cover the hand as if she's a ghost. It's just a memory. I struggled between which one I wanted to be the ghost, either the mother or the daughter leaving home, whether to work at a textile factory or wherever she was going to. But I thought it could either be the daughter's memory of her mom wishing she would stay, but I think it's going to be the mom thinking more about her daughter leaving to go and help the family by working during the war. It was really an honor to meet them and hear their stories, and I've heard them give their testimonies several times. I think in another interview I mentioned when the Grandma Yi, she tried to escape the one time and they cut off her toes, and in front of the crowd she took a shoe off and showed everybody, and she said, "Is this what they do to a prostitute?" No, I was a forced sexual slave. So it's been an honor to get to know them instead of just reading their stories in a history book. It did take a lot of work. My first trip to Korea to see them, the first time I met them, but my wife said to me, if you don't do it now, it'll never happen. So do it now. And since then we've had a relationship together as friends. The motivation, how I began doing the Comfort Women series, it happened back in 2007 actually. And I had a Korean neighbor who stopped in to see. Now and then she would stop by to see the work that I'm doing. And she said, "This is very interesting. I hope you do something about the Korean comfort women after you finish this." And I said, "I'm sorry, I've never heard that term before." And I think that's true of many Americans. Back then, now it's in the newspaper quite often, but back in 2007, 2008, 2009, people just didn't hear that phrase, comfort women. So I asked her about it and she explained. So I went to the local library and I saw a book by a woman named Dashiell Kim Gibson. And I read the book, it's called Silence Broken. And I was so taken back, not only by the atrocity, but the fact that I went through the American school system and I've heard about the internment camps, I've heard about the Holocaust, I've heard about Native Americans, I've heard about African American slavery, but I've never once heard about Korean comfort women. We want to thank you so much for coming out. I'm thankful for all of these people who posed and let me just have a little piece of their life. And in years from now, they're going to be gone, and this is just going to be in the history books. And I had the honor and the privilege of actually meeting them, sitting down, many of them, especially the former comfort women, having dinner with them and traveling together. In 2010, I had the honor of working with Mayor James Rotundo and doing the first Comfort Women Memorial in Palisades Park. It's the first in the world, and it was a great honor. Leaving on a negative note, this last painting over here at the Comfort Women Memorial, politicians pushing people out of the way to get the picture next to one of the Comfort Women, Yeok's son, who was about 87 at the time, someone sitting her down on the ground next to a tree he planted to get a photograph. And I felt they were being used once again. So my wife and I have become so close to some of these women. To see them treated that way, it reminded me of a bunch of wolves just attacking and not really caring about the women. And I felt, gee, things happen. October 1943, Rose Blattman and Ilchul Kang and Rocco Cavallo, my uncle, who served in Battle of the Bulge, all of them have their story, whether it was Europe, whether it was American Japanese internment camps, comfort women, Auschwitz. Each of them was suffering on that day in different parts of the world at the hands of someone else. So here we have, almost like a movie will cut away from people talking at one point to two people in a park happening at the same time. All these paintings should be cutaways, that she's suffering, her parents being killed in the Holocaust, while she's being raped by 50 soldiers in one day, on that same day. And I would say, when people start criticizing one group of people, to quote the Apostle Paul, all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. It's showing that we're all sinners, and war brings out the worst of us. Even outside of war, we're still sometimes horrible people, but war brings out this.
Art is language. It's a visual language. As artists, as a Korean and as a woman, I do think it is important to address what comfort woman is, was, or will be. My responsibility as an artist, I would like to educate myself, not to forget. I don't want to forget about it. I don't want people to forget about it. I hope more people do this kind of project for acknowledging and also educating our society. What are the performance? I usually invite. I do a lot of improvised performance, and then I bring those people to speak about comfort woman, such they don't even know before. But when I ask a question to them, they're often surprised what comfort woman means. Out of 20 people, maybe one or two people understand who they are, just briefly, not detail. So in this way, I can be able to educate them. I had some friend confided with me they had raped by someone before, and they told me that those scars cannot go away. But comfort women grandmothers, they were having sex with men per night, 20s up to 50 men per night. A lot of people pregnant, they die. After that World War II, a lot of women killed suicide. They committed suicide. They kill themselves because they don't want to come out. They have a sexual disease. And also, very, very sadly, when they come back to Korea, motherland, our society didn't really accept them because a lot of people feel very ashamed that they had a bad experience. A lot of grandmothers say, I didn't wanna say I was comfort woman because my son told me not to say anything to public because society won't accept me because I was sexy slave. And some other people feel very ashamed because I don't want my mother to be sexy slave by a Japanese soldier. But whose fault is that? You have to ask, whose fault is that? My country, Korea, wasn't strong enough to protect them. And now we have to protect those comfort women.